Welcome everyone, this is Caton here, and in this video we're going to be going over how to break 80. Today we'll be going through my round at Desert Pines in Las Vegas, shot for shot, and we'll be discussing my thought process, strategies, and mindset to help you break 80. So let's get right into it. First hole, I'm using my 3-wood, trying to get to the end of the fairway there for a little chip towards the green. I did get the opportunity to hit the driving range beforehand, which I think if you want to break 80, it's something I highly recommend doing. And trying to hit the chipping green and the putting green. And another thing is, if you're trying to break 80 for the first time, play from the white tees. Once you break 80, you can make your way back to the blues or the blacks, but try to break 80 from the whites first. You got to start somewhere. First hole here, we end up leaving with a par, which is nice. And when you try to break 80, greens in regulation and fairway in regulation are pretty important. I know today's round I hit 65% greens in regulation and 57% fairways in regulation. And that made for some easy opportunities and looks at birdie and some easy looks at par. This is a little chip here for par, and we end up draining it. Off to the third hole, even par. And this is a great look here. So instead of using driver, which will put that pond into play, try using something a bit shorter, stick to the fairway, and then you have a pretty good chance at, hitting one or two more shots at the green. So here's a good opportunity to discuss. 227 yards out, so you could use a 4 or 3 iron, but then that pond would be in play again. So why not just lay up before that bunker, give yourself a shot from the green 100 yards out. It's all about mitigating the risks. Decent little shot in here to the green, just off the green in that dead rough. I would say plan tee shots based on approach shots and around penalty areas. So if you're comfortable with 130 yards out from the green, or 100 yards or 110 yards, try to set yourself up for those opportunities from the tee. Don't hit a shot and then try to figure out afterwards. You gotta start planning that from the get-go. .252 yard par 4 here. You could go for it if you feel very confident with your 3-wood, or if you hit your driver 250, then go for it. But if not, why not just go to the end of the fairway, and then you have a little chip. At least with an iron, you have a more consistent opportunity to hit it straighter than you do with a wood on most cases. And another big one is trying to limit your 3 putts. Putting is pretty crucial. I know I had a lot of putts this round. I ended up having 34 putts and 3 3-putts. But if you can eliminate those, you can shoot pretty good golf. So now we have a 364 yard par 4 here, and I allocated to use my 5 iron, which would put me short of the bunker on the left, and it's a pretty wide landing area there. And so now we have about 156 yards out using my 9 iron. Pretty approachable looking pin, so I'm just aiming bits to the left of the pin and letting my fade trying to take it back, but I didn't end up fading here. Another par 4. This is a pretty tight fairway, but I was feeling pretty confident with my 3-wood, so I decided to use my 3-wood. We got it up there pretty nice. Now we're about 84 yards out, looking straight into the sun. One important thing that I like to bring up and that help you break 80 is play your shots. Know what shots you like, know what shots you don't like. Try to get yourself into opportunities and looks at shots that you can make and that you're comfortable with, and then save those other shots for a day at the range where you're trying to practice them. +1 through 6 off to the 7th. It's a par 5, pretty short par 5. And I like to think of par 5s as mini par 3s. Basically get your first and second shot out of the way, and then try to put yourself as close as you can to the green, and then think of it like a par 3. So if you're 100 yards out, then it's only a 100-yard par 3. If you're 80 yards out from the green on a par 5, then it's only 80-yard par 3. And if you can compartmentalize your shots, it'll make it easier for you to shoot well instead of going for hero shots or making any errors. So now we're 136 yards out using my pitching wedge, and I ended up sculling this one. Ended up going over the green. It ended up going into the pond near that red stake, so I was able to play it to the left of the stake, no closer to the hole. And so now we have a little par putt here, and decent weight, but just offline, but we ended up getting a bogey. So 2 over, going into this par 3 here, 149 yards, and very approachable pin. If there's an approachable pin like this, attack it. I'd say go for it all day long. But if that pin is tucked behind that bunker, you can always just play the ball to the center of the green and then just play for the 2-putt. No reason to put yourself into danger. And try to keep yourself below the hole. I was very far behind this hole, and it was a very big downhill. And it makes it tough to get the weight down. So now we have a par putt here. And we end up 3-putting it. So first 3-putt of the day. Off to the 9th hole. And so my 3-wood is a good distance here to be right before that pond. If you're using a driver, you do put that pond into play. So try to figure out how far certain penalty areas are and try to be a lot shorter than those. And this ended up being one of my best shots of the day with my 6-iron here. I ended up hitting this one really clean out of the gravel and ended up making it on the green. Point I like to bring up about breaking 80 is limiting your lost balls. You don't need to always go for those hero shots, which end up making your lost balls an opportunity. So what I mean by that is, if you're using a driver or a 3-wood when you can actually just use an iron, the longer your shot is, the further you could actually be in trouble. I ended up making a terrible shot here, but thankfully I didn't use my 3-wood, for example, because I would have been even further offline. And so now I'm in the actual other fairway, heading over these trees.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that, give me that. Give me my slippers, con mimosa. My limousine and my chauffeur. So don't know.
Another approachable pin. Going straight for it, just to the left of the pin, trying to let my fade come back. Anytime you get these opportunities where the pin is just sitting right dead slap in the middle of the green, just go for it. It's a great opportunity. Like the last hole, I should have tried to be a bit shorter of the pin to allow for an uphill putt rather than a downhill, but we ended up getting away with a par here, which was nice. Another point to how to break 80 is remove ego from decision making. You could easily have used a driver on this hole, for example, and put yourself out of play, but it's honestly not needed as much as people think. Yes, it helps you get closer to the green when you do make a great strike, but those chances and those times that you don't make a great strike and you put yourself in a bad spot is when you get yourself into trouble. Nice birdie look here from about 25 feet. And left it way short, but we thankfully make the next one for par.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that, give me that. Give me my slippers, con mimosa. My limousine and my chauffeur. So don't know Vias, no esposas.
243 yards out using my 4-iron, and I end up just hitting a terrible shot. I kind of hoselled it a bit. I ended up going to the other rough or other fairway here, and my camera ended up getting full on storage, so I had missed that shot. Ended up losing it. Had to drop a ball here. The ball ended up rolling down that hill, and we made a chip onto the green. So now we're putting from about 10 feet away, and we make it. Off to the 14th hole. Forgot to press record. Rookie mistake. So now we're underneath this tree trying to chip over this bunker. It's a really tough one because I'm in that fescue, not a clean shot on the ball. And so I try to just basically hit it as hard as I could so it would go over that bunker, and we ended up in this rough here. And so now this is the scramble percentage that's really important. If you can get up and down a couple times like this in a round, you can really reduce your strokes. Now we have a pretty hefty putt for par, but we end up draining it. Hole 15 here, using my 4-iron, 283 yards. I'm basically trying to lay up, trying to get it in that larger landing area before that bunker, before it gets narrow. But I end up making just an awful shot, end up losing this ball in the drink, so now we have to drop. So now we're shooting 3 from 171 yards out using my 7-iron. And make a pretty nice strike. The ball was just about to go down that hill, but it got caught up, so now we're a pretty slippery putt downhill, right to left. And we hit it a bit further than we wanted. So now we have a look here at bogey. And these are the 5-footers you like to see. Off to the next. So now we're at +5 with 3 holes to go. And so the par here is 71. And so you need 8 over in order to shoot a 79 to break 80. Nice shot here in the par 3. Bit of a look here for a birdie putt. And I ended up crushing it. It ended up being a bit downhill. Just a terrible read as well. So now we have a hefty putt here for par, which is unfortunate. And we miss it. So we get another bogey. After this putt, we at least make it. '17th hole, 348 yards, using my 4-iron, and we're aiming for that little target zone in the map there. So now we have 117 yards out using my pitching wedge, and the ball's a bit up above my feet, but I ended up making a decent shot. I ended up flying further than I was hoping. And another look at birdie. Hopefully we can get the putting figured out here. We've had a couple opportunities at birdies, but I ended up sailing it past the hole. Not the greatest putting. I've definitely got to work on that a bit. So now we have a pretty hefty putt here for par. And made another horrendous putt. The end of the round is kind of getting to me here, where I'm hoping to break 80, but thankfully we bury that one for bogey, and so all we need in this last hole is a bogey to break 80. I'm aiming for that little target with my 4-iron and make a pretty nice strike. It ended up coming off my heel, but it ended up being pretty good. And so now we have a decent shot, 183 yards into the green here, and I ended up chunking this one just short of the green. And so now all we gotta do is just get this ball close to the pin and put it in within 2 strokes. So make a great shot here. It's pin hunting, and we just lip out. And now slippery putt here for par, and I miss it. And so now we have a hefty looking putt here to break 80, but we end up making it. Well guys, thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click that like button, and I hope to see you guys in one of my next ones. Peace.